You're listening to the Leverage Your Incredible Factor podcast with Darnyelle, Jervey, Harmon. If this is your first time joining me for the podcast, here's what I'd like for you to know about me. First and foremost, I am the absolute best at combining spiritual principles with business growth strategy to turn entrepreneurs into multiple 6- and 7-figure CEOs. Second, I don't do hustle and grind. I do spirituality and systems. And you might be wondering, what in the devil is an incredible factor? And if so, I invite you to go all the way back to the very first episode of this podcast. It's aptly titled, Exactly What is the Incredible Factor? There's even a cool worksheet that I want you to do that will help you to find yours. Oh, I will likely say some things that will make you laugh, a few things that could make you cry, and definitely make you question if you are ready to leverage your incredible factor. Remember, I'm a coach, and my job is to tell you what you don't want to hear and show you what you don't want to see, all to help you to become who God created you to be. I'm so excited that you're here. Today, I want to talk to you about the elephant in the room. Now, I can already see that you're like, okay, Darnyelle, what is on your mind today? Listen, I have been trying to exist in a room with this big fat elephant for so long, and I finally have come to my wits' end and decided to do something about it. Now, you might be wondering what this elephant that I'm referring to is, and I will get to that in just a second. But before I do, I want to tell you a little story. So the year was 2016, and I did what I ceremoniously do. I enrolled a new client into one of my premium offers. And this particular offer was my strategic business retreat, a 3-day retreat where a group of business owners, usually somewhere between 4 and 6, would come and spend 3 full days with me, and we would completely make over their businesses. And when they would leave, they would have access to the keys to the castle. Literally everything that could take them all the way to the 7-figure marks is what we would unveil and work through over the 3 days. And when I would hold these strategic biz retreats, I would do them in Airbnbs. I love Airbnbs because we wouldn't be held to any particular time constraint, right? We could go from dark 30 to dark 30 if that's what it took in order to get them the results that they came to the retreat for. It was a premium offer. They were paying a nice chunk of change in order to access my brain for the 3 days along with the other business owners. And so for 3 full days, this particular point in time, I was hosting, I think there were 4 business owners there. I wined them and dined them. I gave them core strategy. I worked on mindset. I envisioned for them. I helped them to write their marketing copy. I showed up and showed out. It was the best of me is what I gave them. If you've ever seen the movie Boomerang from the 90s with Eddie Murphy and Halle Berry, this was my Mac Daddy vibe I was giving them. And when it was over, every participant at this particular strategic business retreat gave me a testimonial, a video testimonial about how amazing our 3 days together had been and how they mapped out all of this massive content and how everything that had been an enigma prior to them coming was now clear. Every single attendee did that. I was excited. My team who was with me were excited. We went back home because we were in a different city, and we went back home to continue business as usual, feeling really, really good because we had just impacted 4 businesses that were destined to go to the next level because they had spent 3 days with me. And then the unthinkable happened. We went to run the credit card for one of the attendees for their next payment or their final payment and participation for the retreat, and the transaction went through flawlessly. Fast forward 2 or 3 days and I get a chargeback. Okay, sidebar. In the event that you don't know what a chargeback is, let me hip you to the game right now. As an entrepreneur that accepts credit cards, you will probably at some point in time get a chargeback. It's just the cost of doing business. I'm not speaking anything ill over you. I'm just telling you what's likely to happen. And so I got a chargeback from one of the attendees at the strategic biz retreat. Imagine my surprise and dismay and confusion that the transaction was being returned as a chargeback and called fraud. Can you imagine? And so I remember, I was probably really upset. I was emotional even because I pour my heart and soul into the work that I do with my clients. And I remember being a little livid at this. And so I started pulling everything together to go fight the chargeback with the merchant bank, because once you get a chargeback, the merchant goes and takes the money out of your account. It is then up to you to validate and prove that you deserve to have that money. So I pulled up the client agreement. We have every single client who comes to work with us sign an agreement. I pulled up the email from the client that they were excited to be coming to the retreat that weekend. We sent in an email a few days before the event that everyone must confirm that they are going to be there. And then I pulled up the video that this particular person shot on day 3 of this retreat about how amazing the experience was. Got all my stuff together and I sent it back to the merchant bank. I waited another 3-4 days and then the money appeared back in my account. I had won the chargeback. And you would think that it was over, except because the transaction was deemed fraud, the credit card company changed the client's credit card. And because now this person was disputing after they had spent 3 days in my face, learning from me, eating the food that I purchased for them, they wanted to say it was fraud. So of course they're dodging my calls, right? There was nothing I could do. I think there was one additional payment left after that payment. And I came face to face with the dang blasted elephant in the room. And so today, if you haven't figured it out yet, we are talking about integrity. And there are so many ways that people in this marketplace that we exist in today, their integrity is off. And I just wanted to, first and foremost, call out the elephant in the room. I wanted to share my story and some of the things that I've done. And then I want to give you some strategies, because it is likely, if you are in business, that you will bring on a client at some point in time that doesn't operate in the integrity that you operate in. Again, I'm not trying to speak anything ill over you. I'm just trying to keep it real with you because it is likely to happen. I've been in business at this point going on 13 years. And it happens. It's probably more times than I would care to admit. I've had people who have defaulted on a program agreement and have not honored the agreement that they signed. And I have to do a lot of work in order to get paid for services that I've rendered. I'm not happy to share that with you. I wish it didn't have to be that way, that people would honor the agreements that they make. I could tell you another story, and I'm not going to use this episode of the podcast to do that because I really want to make it a teachable moment for you. But I wanted to talk about integrity because as you're in the marketplace and you're at the point where you're ready to leverage and scale your business. Leverage means you start working one to many, meaning you're going to be working with way more people, and scale means you're taking on more, right? So if it hasn't happened to you yet, it will happen because it is a function of leverage and scale. And the reason I wanted to talk to you about it is because I want to prepare you and equip you so that when the elephant pops into your room, you know exactly what to do about it and how to manage what is going to be incumbent upon you in order to remain in integrity for the person who is out of integrity. And I also don't want you to beat yourself up. I used to beat myself up, and it's not helpful to do that. And the reason it's not helpful is because it doesn't change anything. But I would say, if I'd have just been a better judge of character. I mean, I had them sign an agreement, right? Who would have thought that someone would be brash enough to spend 3 days learning from you, eating and just talking about how amazing the experience was, and then go home and report it as fraud? Like, who does that? Now, for those of you who are spiritual in nature, and if you happen to be a believer and subscriber to the Bible, the Word of God, then you already know the Bible says, touch not my anointed, do my prophet no harm. And so no good comes from those people. Galatians 6:7, I believe, it's either 6:7 or 6:9 says, do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man will reap what he sows, basically. And so that person, my My saving grace in this scenario where I rendered a service fully and didn't get fully paid for it because a person was out of integrity, they forced this fat behind elephant into my room. The saving grace is knowing that there's no way in the world they're prospering in their business. I know it's probably wrong for me to say that, but I'm just going to keep it real with you. That was the saving grace, that I could release it. I could detach from the outcome. I could even render forgiveness because I'm not willing to hold myself back from something that is waiting for me because I'm holding on and harboring ill feelings towards this person who didn't operate in integrity. Integrity is bound to happen to you at some point in time, again, because you're on the path, on the trajectory to leveraging and scaling your business. Now, let me tell you a story about the flip side of integrity. This time it's on me. So I took on a client that I knew when I said, yes, you can be my client, I shouldn't have let them be my client. Have you ever done that? I did because I wanted to help them. I really did it out of the best of intentions, but I actually did them and me a disservice. So I took them on as my client. They were not at the level that they should have been at to be my client. And as a result of it, I just didn't feel warm and fuzzy about working with them. And it lingered and it lingered and it lingered until finally I had to own my own integrity because the elephant had come back into the room. And here I was, I love my work. I love the people I get to work with every single day. And this particular one client, I was not loving it because they were not ideal. And I had to humble myself. I had to apologize, and I had to get back into integrity at all costs. At all costs, I had to be willing to get back into integrity. So what I want you to understand is that integrity is a business growth strategy. Deciding to show up fully and be who you should be at all times, whether someone is looking or not, making decisions from a vantage point of abundance and not one of lack is truly the key. Because here's what you need to know. We unfortunately are in a marketplace where not everyone operates in integrity. And it's easy to lie. It's easy to pretend as if. I mean, there are a lot of people who live and die by fake it until you make it, right? And because of that lack of integrity produces a lack mindset, and that lack mindset keeps them from being able to walk into and access everything that has been waiting for them. But I told you, this is the year of next level everything. So everything that I share with you is going to be designed to take you to the next level. And operating in integrity is one of those things that will take you to the next level. And so the first thing I want to share with you is, whenever you are faced with an opportunity to make a decision about the way that you are going to show up, check in. Check in with yourself, check in with God, check in with whatever your barometer is. I know that if you're listening to this podcast, it's very likely that you, like me, are a spiritual person and you have a relationship and connection with God, the creator of the abundant universe that we all get to live and experience and have access to everything. So the first thing you have to do is you have to check in. You have to make sure that it's a good idea. Now, listen, the second story I told you about myself when I was out of integrity and I took on a client that I shouldn't have, I knew at the time I said yes to the client that I shouldn't have done it, but I wanted to help. My intentions, my motives were pure, but the result was still damning to them and their ability to go where they wanted to go in their business, and damning to me because I wasn't able to show up fully in full, in my full potential and to get them great results because they weren't at the level that they should have been at to work with me. And so the first thing is you have to check in. I ignored the still small voice that said, don't you do it, which meant I was struggling with obedience. Because see, when you're out of integrity, your obedience will also be in question. Listen, we all know what we're supposed to do. We have all been taught right from wrong, and we have pretty good barometers for right and wrong. We're amazing at it, but we don't always make the right decision, as would happen with me. And so to avoid this going forward, anytime you're presented with an opportunity, and I want you to think specifically about, let's make it about business and not just life, right? So let's talk specifically about a sales conversation with a potential client. You're talking with them I want you to check in. I want you to validate that this person would be well served by you. Only offer them the option to hire you if in integrity, you know that you can get them to the solution that they desire. If you are not positive that you can get them to the solution that they desire, then don't offer them to become your client. That's the first thing. Check in. Second thing, as soon as you check in and you don't get the go ahead to keep going, walk away. See, integrity says that I'm willing to tell someone no in order to make sure that if I say yes, my yes can be resounding in every way in my life. So you have to be willing to walk away if it's not right. The third thing that you have to do is you have to be willing at all costs to call out a lack of integrity. See, as a coach, you may or may not be listening and be a coach, but coaches, we tell you what you don't want to hear and show you what you don't want to see to help you to become who God created you to be. And it's incumbent upon us as coaches to make sure that if you are showing up outside of integrity, we call you out on that. It's what I like to call courageous coaching. Courageous coaching is like somebody might get offended and might want to treat you in a manner unbefitting of who you are if you call them out on their mess, but it's what's incumbent upon you if you are truly going to be the catalyst to them experiencing change at the next level. And what I know that happens when you show up in integrity and you do these three things is you really do set yourself up to stand out and to rise above the noise that exists in the marketplace. I have decided that no matter what, I'm willing to take a loss on my client count if the people who are approaching me are not my ideal clients. I'm willing to go back to the drawing board on my marketing to up level my marketing message so that I can get in front of the people who should truly be served by me. Did you catch that? Because see, here's the other thing that integrity says. Integrity says that you understand that not everyone is deserving of an opportunity to be served by you. I know, I just probably upset someone, but I'm going to say it again. Integrity says that you recognize that everyone is not deserving of an opportunity to be served by you. That's integrity, because we have a standard and we are required to show up at a standard and to expect people to rise to that standard. I say all the time, and which is why it was so important for me to eat my own message and to humble myself and to go apologize to this person that should have never been my client. Because I tell my clients all the time that we shouldn't bend over to get clients. Now, I could tell you that the reason I did it is because I wanted to help them. But if I'm being really honest, the reason I probably did it was because I was in lack. And I thought, well, a non-ideal client is better than no client at all. How many times have you sold out your own integrity for $1? You can't see me right now, but I'm side-eyeing myself for the times that I've done it. Now that particular experience was years ago, almost as many years ago as it was for the person that came to my retreat and then reported me as fraud. And I've had many other people before, like they sign these agreements to work with me and then they just kind of go ghost. And what I want to say, if you've ever been one of those kind of people, one of those people who didn't honor an agreement that you signed, is know that your business is not going to the next level until you fix it. It's not. And like I would say, if I had an opportunity to talk to some of the people who've defaulted on me and have kind of disappeared, their money won't make or break my business, but their being out of integrity for that amount will break their life. Let me repeat that. Their lack of integrity and not honoring their agreement won't make or break my business, but it will mess with their life. I know for a fact one person who last year, was it last year? It was either last year or the year before, defaulted on their agreement. And it was so sad because I've always been the type of person where I'm willing to work with you. Because I'm a human being and I'm doing this work because God told me to. And they had an agreement. They began to default. So they created a revised agreement. I agreed to the revised agreement and then they went ghost. instead of honoring the revised agreement. And I know that that person right now is facing foreclosure. Now, I'm not trying to suggest that not paying me is what the reason why they're in foreclosure. But what I will say is, again, the Bible says, do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man will reap what he sows. And when you sow lack of integrity, you will reap a lack of integrity. And what you thought was designed to help you to get access to whatever it is that you want, or that you were getting over or getting ahead, will actually fail to allow you to get over or to get ahead. And I don't want that for you. I know that this probably wasn't the warmest or fuzziest of episodes that I've ever done on the podcast, but you know what? When there's an elephant in the room, it isn't. It's the most uncomfortable, awkward thing ever. And someone had to say it. Someone had to be willing to stand up and say, all of you who are out of integrity in the marketplace need to get your ish together. I would cuss, but I'm really working on that. You need to get your stuff together, and you need to stop, because all you are doing is further delaying your ability to access your next level everything. I'm getting ready to go on to tour. This episode, in fact, is even powered by the Next Level Everything Tour, which is going down this February 2020 in Washington, D.C., Atlanta, Georgia, and here in Newark, Delaware. And one of the things I will be teaching on tour are the incredible factor principles for next level living. And the reason why I'm going to be teaching these principles is because I have come to realize what it really takes in order to experience life at the next level because of your business. And the cool thing, or the interesting thing that I've observed over and over and over again, is that having a business that serves you financially and spiritually is less about the strategy and more about what you put out into the world. That's why we had to deal with the elephant in the room, because being out of integrity is a sign of lack. And having a lack mindset will make it challenging for you to experience abundance. And that's not what I have for you. That's not what I desire for you, incredible one. I want you to live into and experience abundance at the next level, because God isn't holding anything back from you. And while God is not holding anything back from you, you sure are if you happen to be one of those people who operates without integrity. And you know who you are, whether it's my program that you defaulted on or any other coach's program that you defaulted on. When you sign an agreement and say you're going to do something and you don't do it, you only actually hurt yourself. And I know that when you recognize this, when you turn away from this and correct, listen, I had a person once a few years ago who went through a bad time. You know, bad things sometimes happen to great people. And they, for a period of time, weren't able to handle their financial obligation and continue in the program. And they kept the lines of communication open. And do you know that we set up a payment plan that was like $100 a month? It took them, I don't know, their program just literally got finished being paid off. And we're talking about back from like 2013 or 2014. And they literally just finished paying it off in 2019. But they knew what happens when you get out of integrity. They knew what would be at stake if they didn't honor their agreement, right? And I don't know why it happens to small business owners that we do this, because, you know, no one would not pay their mortgage and think it would be okay that they would still have a place to lay their head down, right? No one would not pay their car payment and think that the car wouldn't get repossessed. But hiring a coach or a consultant, people think that they could just not honor the agreement and nothing bad is going to happen to them. Yeah, sure. Maybe you won't lose your house or you won't lose your car, but you won't be able to have a business where your clients pay on time, because you will reap what you've sown. And so when you sow out of integrity, you will reap out of integrity, and your clients will do to you what you've done to other people. I don't want that for you, incredible one, especially because you are on a trajectory to leverage and scale your business. So what I'm hoping that you'll do as a result of listening to this episode, as we are early into our year of next level everything, is that you will clean up where you've messed up, that you will go back in any place where you've not operated in integrity, and you will right the wrong, you will apologize, you will humble yourself, and you will create an opportunity to do restitution. And I'm not talking about just small business owners and coaches. Like if you had a credit card that you defaulted on and you never paid it and it's still on your credit bureau, guess what? You still have the contact information for the merchant, the company, the bank that you owe money. Operate in integrity. I promise you that whatever little bit you got to keep while thought you were getting over, my fingers are in the air quotes, I know you guys can't see it. I promise you that even if you experienced any amount of success, it's a fraction of what could have been earmarked and reserved for you, but you were out of integrity. Ouch. I know it hurts, but integrity is a business growth strategy. If you want everything you touch to grow and bloom, then you've got to show up in integrity. You've got to be who you desire to attract in every way in order to attract them. I have had coaches that I probably shouldn't have hired, that I could have had a V8. But you know what? I signed their agreement, and the agreement said that I would make X amount of payments of X amount of dollars. And guess what? I honored the agreement because I was not willing to chance that stepping outside of my integrity would end well for me. That's a whole another level of next level. So I hope that you will listen to this episode and you will do a check-in. You will validate that you are showing up in integrity in every way so that you are not blocking not one blessing, not one client, not one speaking engagement, not one best-selling book, not one anything that it's on its way to you that has been earmarked and reserved for you that you would miss because you're not in integrity. I promise you it's not worth it. As you ponder on that, I'll see you next time. Take care. Thank you for joining me for the Leverage Your Incredible Factor Business Podcast. I'd really love to help you grow a business that funds the life you crave while doing work that shakes the planet. Get started today by applying for a discovery session with me or a member of my team at darnyelle.com/session. And if you enjoyed our time together, do yourself a favor. Head on over to iTunes, subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. Until next time, remember, you do deserve a business that funds the life you crave. Take care.